Today is a super exciting day. Now, I will just share with you something that I already shared with Mr. Chugani. When I was in your assemblies last week, and then I told everybody about this event that was happening. In some of the grades, when I did the sign up, I had kids running down the stairs. All right? And as they were signing up and they were telling their buddies, they said, "This is cool, we get to meet a CEO. This is cool, make sure you sign up." And I love that enthusiasm. And I already shared that story, but it's a true story. It was like rock star. All right?
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure, no pressure. All right? So, of course, a absolute warm welcome to Mr. Ishwar Chugani. All right? We'll also join, maybe briefly, I don't know, but Dr. Hopkins is here, and Mr. Mankani is here as well. Last but not least, year 13. Thank you very much, Rodrigo. He is our moderator. He has prepared questions. So if you think year 13 is hard, when somebody then asks you to spend your weekend making questions for a CEO, that's what he had to do. And then I had to chase him up. Not really chasing him up, but I had to say, "Are the questions done?" Yes, miss, I'll email them to you. So I really want to thank you, Rodrigo. One done, done. Okay, so just a brief and quick introduction. So Mr. Ishwar Chugani, he is CEO of Giordano Fashions. You see that all over the mall. There are 2,400 stores across the Middle East, North Africa, and Asia. Am I correct? Global. All right. Right. I put this up because I thought this was really interesting. These are little tidbits that you may not know. We know that he's CEO. We know that he arrived in Dubai in 1979. But what you may not know is that, yes, originally from India, but you were actually born and raised in the Philippines, which is why the flag of the Philippines is there. So very interesting to be part of that Indian diaspora that's across the world. And he came to Dubai in 1979, long time ago. And he was part of the opening of a place called Sinbad's Adventure, which it's still not Sinbad, but it exists in Al Ghurair Center, if you remember. I know when you live on this side of the creek, you don't tend to go to the other side of the creek. But on the Dera side of Dubai, the first mall was called Al Ghurair Center. It's still there. Sinbad is no longer there, but you were instrumental in founding.
I'm sure if any of you, your parents grew up here or family have been here over 25, 30 years, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually hosted your parents or your family's birthday parties in the 80s. So if any of you have grown up here, when you go home, ask your parents or family if they remember Sinbad. And all I can say, you'll see a smile in their face. Some of them may still have the tokens like him.
So I have the honor, and I'm distinguished for actually being allowed into Sinbad by Ishwar over here. And I used to frequent the Al Ghurair Mall, but we didn't have Dubai Mall and the Mall of the Emirates around. So it used to be a hangout place of the teens, Sinbad.
The only place.
The only place. So it's been a long journey for Ishwar, and when he moved out of the confines of his, he was working for a company or all of these various things, he decided to strike out on his own and starting Giordano. But I guess we'll come to that point.
Okay, all right. So in addition to being CEO, there's some other little interesting facts. All right. I don't know if anybody would recognize who that is in the left hand, bottom left hand. He's an icon.
Mike Tyson.
Well, Mike Tyson, before Mike Tyson, I'm sure Mike Tyson was influenced by him. Nelson Mandela, not quite. Muhammad Ali. So when he shared that picture with me, I said, oh, I've got to show that to the kids, right? I mean, how cool is that? I don't know if you ended up boxing him, but you did get to meet him.
But he took over my seat in my office, and I had to stand up, and that's me next to him.
Yeah. Okay, all right. And another little interesting fact. So if you want to know what CEOs do in their spare time, is Mr. Chugani is also a dart champion. And he plays darts in his free time. All right?
That
And
was
this is
me with Bobby George in '79, and look what happened 35 years later. The same person. You know, he was one of the world's best players, and he still is.
So again, now think about this. You've got a CEO here who's got varied interests outside of work, and more often than not, that's what you're going to find. In the best leaders of industry, you're also going to find that they often excel at things outside of work. So Ishwar over here uses that to meet a whole variety of colorful people outside of work, and he also excels at dance. So develop your interests outside of work. Very important, very important.
Okay, from my introduction, that is the end of my intro, but now I would really like to welcome Mr. Chugani and Mr. Rodrigo to take the hot seat, please. The bright yellow chair. Okay, just to let you know a little bit about the format, Rodrigo will ask questions. If you want to have a question that pops into your head, feel free to raise your hand and to ask. Mr. Chugani, I know you've met the year 7s as well, but you are surrounded by other kids here. We've got a boy who has a jewelry line business here. And I'm sure he will ask questions. All right?
So the first question I would like to ask is, where did you work prior to starting your own business?
I never worked for anyone. From the time I came here, my mindset was I work with people. While I was in university, I used to run the largest family entertainment center in the Philippines, which was owned by an uncle of mine. And at the same time, while I was studying, I was invited by the Al family to come to Dubai to set up Sinbad. My mindset has been, as they came to me, I accepted to come, and I've always had this mindset that, you know, it works both ways. And if you have this positive mindset, whether you work with a company or your own, nothing is going to stop you from going forward. So this is my first job outside the family. In fact, me being the eldest, coming from a traditional Indian business family, it was a shock to the community because everyone thought that I would take over our family retail business. But then I was fortunate that my parents said that he made the decision, let him go. I took the risk. At the same time, I also realized having a family business, if something doesn't work out, I can always come back. But that was never in my mind, you know. I mean, I had to make sure things work. So that was my first job with the Al family, and together with them in '93, we got the franchise of Giordano. And in 2012, they wanted to change their business model and wanted to sell the company to another retail company. And that's when I stepped in and I said, no one's going to take what I built away from me. And I went to Giordano, joined them on the board, and that's when I was put on the limelight and we took over everything. So technically, this is my first job, and it's always been for 40 years.
Okay. So why did you decide to go into business?
It's not only about making money, but of course, if you need to pursue your future, your passion, life's enjoyments, you need to make sure you have your 2 feet on the ground. I had to make sure that after I graduated, I had to make a choice in life. Most of my classmates and family members only looked at the States. They thought it was the land of opportunity. When I had the opportunity to Dubai, and I said I was going to Dubai, everybody laughed at me because 40 years ago, only if you were going to work as a construction worker or you're going to work in even maybe domestic work. At that time, Dubai, nobody even knew. Everybody thought it was Saudi Arabia. And even my mother said, why Dubai, or where is it? And then look how the world has changed. And then if some of you had the opportunity to read the book, Blue Ocean Strategy, maybe you'll hear that. It's like, sometimes you don't swim where all the fishes go. It's always good to take risks and find new areas in the big ocean where there are just very few fishes, because you'll have more opportunities to grow.
When did you decide to get out of Sinbad and move into retail?
Sinbad, see, it was all part of the same organization. The local partners here always said, you come from a typical Indian Sindhi family into retail. And we are a big South Indian company with, it was a big $7 billion company, but nothing to do in retail. Al Ghurair family also built Al Ghurair Center and then Burjuman. And they said, why not we bring in a brand? So initially I thought, why not create a brand called Sinbad, a children's brand? And then I realized it was a lot of hard work to build a brand from scratch. And then Giordano caught my attention, because whenever I go to the Far East, so I said, why not Giordano? And that's when we started Giordano from the Sinbad's office. Using my existing team, it was just a branch of Sinbad. And then we realized at that time there were not many brands, and we set up the first store, and we realized the potential of the brand, and that's how we grew it, spun it off, and I was running both Sinbad and Giordano. By the mid-90s, when most of the shopping malls were coming in, it was no longer feasible to run your own amusement brand, because most of the malls were doing it themselves, like Magic Planet and then Dubai Mall with their own amusement arcade. So we decided to exit that business and focus on Giordano. Remember, every business has a timeline, and if you don't keep reinventing or changing, it just dies or moves away. So we have to keep reinventing and changing, and that's how Giordano came about.
So what was your biggest struggle with Sinbad?
The biggest struggle with Sinbad, of course, was rent, and how do you continue to, especially leisure and entertainment, you have home games, and everyday things change. At that time, your home games or handheld games were still very backwards. So the main thing is, how do we keep reinventing or beating ourselves every year? We have to keep bringing in new machines and then getting new locations. But I guess one thing that people remember Sinbad, we were the first. So that gave the satisfaction. We were the first and only one. So we could take our time with what we were doing. But once the bigger malls came in, Magic Planet came in, then we realized it was not going to be easy. So sometimes, when you've had a lot of good times, it's best to decide and move on.
So what were the main skills that you gained from studying in the Philippines?
Well, growing up in the Philippines, it's a very happy-go-lucky, people like to enjoy life. I'm a very warm-hearted and extroverted person. I can speak to anybody. I have friends your age, and I can communicate with them. I have friends 10 years my age. In fact, the joke is, when I came, most of my friends today were 10, I was 20, their parents were 30 years old. Ajay can relate to this. And my friends were their parents. Today, my friends are them, and even my friends' children who grew up with my kids. So I guess that's more of the upbringing in the Philippines. And then, one principle that has kept me going is, I call it hits. But if you forget, you can turn it around and say shit. Sorry for the language, but it means sincerity. You have to be sincere. Humility, you have to be humble. Integrity, and trust. If you're able to cultivate this, and people know you have it, nothing will stop you. Remember hits, it's easier.
Sorry, Rodrigo, I've got a question here.
Yeah, of course.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, do you like your job? Like, if you can go back in time, would you change it or would you keep it the same?
I love what I'm doing. I've had a lot of offers tempting me to go away, But most important, I have 900 people from 25 nationalities, and whatever happens, they will always be my priority. And I will keep going because of that. And I know that many of them have been with me for 20 years. They've managed to educate their kids, buy their own home, and they will do whatever they can to make sure this company continues to survive and thrive.
Just like you moved from Sinbad to a different company, are you thinking of maybe doing that with Giordano?
No, I never moved to a different company. It was part of the same group. The only difference that from the group I was, which owned Giordano, I joined the principals. So I went from a franchisee to being part of the principal. Now, Giordano is a publicly owned company. So there's no owners per se, just shareholders. And after joining them, it's the chairman, me, our legal head, and our COO. The four of us form a management committee, and the four of us run the world, but each country has a business head that handles day to day. So, we cannot really go day to day, 2,400 stores, 20,000 employees. So my role on the board level is more on strategy. Nothing moves without my signature, and it's the four of us. So looking at that business model, when we took over here, when we moved away from a company owned to Giordano, I created my own management committee of 3 of my most senior employees, and the 3 of them have the same vote as me. Because remember, when you're on the top, you think you're God. You think you can just do anything. You need to be humble enough to have your own people say, don't do this, let's talk about it. In our office in Hong Kong, there's a big slogan that says, just because you could does not mean you should. You may have parents that have all the money in the world and you say, oh, I can do this, I can do this. But remember, when you repeat this inside, just because I could, should I do it? And that will eventually make you think again and let you take the right decision.
Okay, so one question. So basically we have a few students here in the audience that are about to go to university next year, including me. So I would like to ask you, how important was university in relation to your success in life?
Your student life here, as well as mine, gives you a foundation. Everything that you do, interacting with your teachers, interacting with your school friends, actually gives you that foundation in dealing with the outside world. University will be very different because you'll get people from all different parts of the world. But if you're able to manage that now, it will make it very easy later. So university gave me the foundation, but you also have to understand that each of us have, that success is very different for each and every one of us. Success to some can be being a millionaire. Success to some could be being a successful musician, entrepreneur. So you first have to have a clear definition. Many years ago, when people say what success or what do you want for career, somebody says, I want to be a policeman, I want to be an army man, I want to be a businessman like my dad. Times are changing. I think when I look at your education system here about positivity, culture, it's very important. Because only when you're very clear on what you want, the most important is happiness and contentment. Passion is good, but don't blindly follow it. Because you need to be on your 2 feet to practice your passion. So you need to have a balance in life. So learn, whatever you learn today, take it forward, but it's more your interactive skills at home and in school, with your teachers, with outside people that will take you to the next level.
So you're a very successful businessman, so I'm sure everyone is wondering this. So what advice would you give students that are considering to start their own business?
3 things, which I always repeat, not only for retailers, but for any company, which we keep repeating for the last 20 years, 30 years. Remember this, if you have to start any business or you have any other business, number 1, identify what's important. Okay? What do you think is important? Number 2, make it obvious. And number 3, make old new again. Look at Madonna. Look at Skechers. Look at Fila. Look at Volkswagen. Look at Adidas. Some of them were dying brands. Like, how do we keep selling t-shirts over and over again? So if you have these 3 things, apply to any business, nothing can stop. The next is the 3H. Your head, you need to have common sense. You need to think in whatever you do. Your heart, you need to love what you're doing, passion. And your hands, you need to work on it. If you combine all 3 together, I think that's your next step to achieving what you want. If you only use your heart and fall in love with someone or a business without using your head, it can be dangerous. Or if you just use your head thinking, oh my God, I can do anything, but without passion, that can be dangerous. So remember the 3H and remember the 3 things.
Rodrigo, I'm sorry, you've got a question from the audience. Sorry.
You mentioned interactive skills just a second ago. What do you think are the most important skills to have in general in this day and age to work in business?
You first need to earn the respect before demanding respect. You need to go out of your way and be humble to say that you're not better than the other person. Always, whenever you meet anyone, put yourself on the same level. I've had the opportunity growing up to even meet government people, royalty and all. And from the beginning itself, the first objective I have is to gain that respect. You know? And the other secret I have is even if I do some of your homework, I have met billionaires, royalty, but I pretend I don't know. So by the time I meet them, we're on first name terms. So I don't get intimidated. So one thing I do, if I know I'm meeting someone, but I know their background, but when I meet them, I pretend I don't know who they are. You know, I mean, that respect is there, but I pretend that I don't know he's a prince. Or I pretend I don't know he's the richest man in Africa. And then we're on first name terms. And then that brings you to them. That's a tip I want to share with you. But don't go to somebody, oh, prince, this. Don't give them that big bow, attention that they may expect. Just keep it on that level. Keep it neutral.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with your inner confidence. That will come in time when you ratchet up all these accomplishments like Ishwar has done. So we'll build on it over your career. It's a question.
Yeah, just funny enough, what Ajay said, when I was in school, I was scared to speak up. Whenever it was my turn to speak in class, I would find a way to go to the clinic or to the washroom. But then growing up, it gave me that I've had the opportunity to speak to 3,000 people at a conference. Actually, it was a lot easier than speaking to all of you because I know it's going to be a bit more challenging. You have a lot of questions to ask, but I will try to endeavor to answer everything.
Sir, what kind of changes or innovations did you make to Giordano when it was starting up to keep it in the limelight?
We have to first understand our customer base has always been your parents. The challenge is reaching out to the younger generation. So now we moved into gym wear, sportswear. We moved into stretch jeans. We moved into innovative fabrics. I was actually going to wear jogging pants today and one of my sneakers, and then my daughter comes, no, Papa, you're going to be up on stage, you're going to take a picture. But that's the real me. I go to work in shorts, I go to work in jogging pants. But just when I was leaving home, my daughter said, what are you wearing? Change. Because I think maybe she could relate to you more. So our product, we just launched a new concept store at Merlip City Center where the clothes stand out, appealing to our visual merchandising, online, social media. We're now trying to reach out to a younger audience who have never had a chance for our brand. Because initially we worked more with graduates with their wrinkle-free shirts, wrinkle-free pants. But now people like to dress down. So those are some of the things. We've come up with a range of G-Motion products. That's like your sweat-absorbent exercise wear. So when you visit the store, you'll actually see some changes in the product line. Then when you leave today, I have something for you to take home. I think there are more than the bags that we have organized, but we'll make sure we make it up for those who don't get. Now visit the store. If you have a chance to go to Merdeb City Center, the new store has just opened. We're opening a new store at Nakheel Mall by end of the month. We're going to go to Dera City Center in Mall of Yemen. It's a bit of a mess this week because of the super sale. And then within the next few days, everything goes back. And every month, we make sure that the store is new again. So the team have to look at their stores from the outside and make sure that they keep changing the display, the color scheme, the merchandise mix.
So, what's the average day like in your life?
Very chill. Spend a lot more time catching up with friends on WhatsApp, social media. The day-to-day operation is run by the team. I can actually run the office. On my phone, I have access to 2,400 stores, the sales, how they've done yesterday, inventory. And so I normally in the office by 9:30. I used to normally call weekly meetings, but now no, my door is open. Whoever needs to meet me meets with me. The management committee that I created handle the day-to-day, and they just come back to me with the plans for the week. And if I have anything to say, or I say go. A lot of my time is spent visiting the stores, meeting people. I organize a monthly event for the industry, and I found a way to do an event where I may or may not be there. Ajay has been invited to that. It's a no RSVP event. Some of the students are also welcome to come. It happens once a month, first Sunday of the month. And about 70 to 80 people show up. And it's organized in such a way that no one's really organizing it. People come. It's you buy your own whatever beverage you need, and it's free food. So I spend a lot of my time for the industry, trying to connect with the industry. I spend a lot of time with the retail business group, lobbying the government to understand their problems and make things easier. And of course, family time. My daughter has just come back from her master's. My son's still doing his master's. And it's the best time spent catching up with my own wife, because for so many years it's always work. So I feel that's very important, balancing your family and work life.
So I just want to add something. Ishwar makes it seem very easy, but it isn't. To get to that stage, there's this, he's obviously put in his hours practicing his trade. But you speak to him, beneath this very chilled exterior is a person who is a pretty hard-nosed businessman and who is extremely technically competent in his trade. So he knows fabrics, he knows fashions, he knows what are the latest fashions, he knows supply chain, he knows information technology. So when you dig beneath the surface, he knows it all. So for you guys, you need to know your business in and out when you actually join industry. Okay, keep that in mind.
Remember, retail is detail, and not one person can do everything. In fact, one thing many people don't know, I hate technology. I depend on my people to handle that. So whenever they tell me, I just want the basic stuff. Every day I just need to know in a chart, how did we do, what went wrong and all. So when you have your own business, you have to trust and get good people. However, before that, you yourself should first understand so that people don't give you guesswork or try to fool you. So there's a lot of hard work. And I think in today's technology, a lot of your education foundation is more on technology and a lot of the skills that were not taught to us before. So you're very fortunate that you're going to go into the business world with skills that are required.
When you mentioned about your stores across malls in different countries, what's like the marketing plan or the marketing procedure that you go through, or to get your stores across the most famous malls, the newest malls, so you can have that brand exposure plan going as you like it?
See, number one, every market is unique. We have a campaign, we meet twice a year, we plan for 6 months. And when we launch the campaign, we do it globally. And when people see it across the world, how you communicate, your visual merchandising, they will notice it. A lot of what I do on the social side, we're a single brand. So when I get an award like that, it actually speaks for itself. It's not for me, it's for the brand. And I have to thank my people for it. When we get a location in the mall, as a single brand, we have to compete with companies that have 20 or 30 brands. So when you build that professionalism, when the mall respects you and they know that you're going to be there, pay your bills on time, and always reinvent, we keep changing our stores, renovating it every 4 years, they will give you a priority. So it's not only marketing, it's also how you manage your brand, how professional are you with your brand, how your staff treat the customers. Because remember, in today's business, customers don't care who owns the company. Customers don't care what brands you have. The customers only care about two things. What are you doing for society? And if they can trust you. You know, they want to do business with companies that they have good relations with and they can trust. It's no longer about who sells a t-shirt at what price. Today's consumers first want to know what you're doing for society. They want to know what you're doing for them. So that's very important. In the old days, you can have a brand, sell anything, people will walk in. It's no more the case today.
When did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, was it in school or when you started?
I was born in a family of entrepreneurs, so my journey has been from a family of entrepreneurs to a professional. No, I was born from a family of business owners, leaving that to join a company as a professional. And the culture in that company was creating entrepreneurs out of professionals. And now I'm back to an entrepreneur, and at the same time considering myself as a business owner. So I actually had the luck or been fortunate to go to the full cycle from a business owner to a professional to an entrepreneur to back to being an entrepreneur and considering myself as part owner of this public company.
Do you
What do you look for in a person when you employ?
For the first 20 years, I handpick every person that I have in the company. We have a 95% response rate. Especially when you go, earlier I used to go a lot to India, and if you leave recruitment to the recruitment person, they look at where the person is from, ethnicity, background. I said, I don't want to know anything about it. I listen to what they have and I ask them one question. Why should I select you instead of anybody else? And if they say, because I need money or I want to earn money, no way. So a person who says, I want a company where I can grow and it's a career growth, that would be one of the first things. So again, I would gauge their attitude. Attitude is very important, how positive they are. I would not care what religion, what ethnicity, what background. Today we have 25 different nationalities. Most important is their attitude. They can have that positivity. In fact, every time I meet my people, I say anyone who's not happy are most welcome to leave. We're one of the very few companies, even during bad times like this year, we pay bonus. We give salary increases. We surprise our people when they least expect it. And then we see that in their performance.
do you feel like it's hard to keep up with the trend at all times for fashion?
Keeping up with the trend and keeping up with today's very fast-changing world, everyday things are changing, technology is tough, but it keeps me smiling, it keeps me going, it keeps me challenged, and it keeps me always moving on my quest for learning. So coming here today, I can learn a lot from you, and I was very happy actually to be invited by a group of grade 7 children, because I know I can learn from them. You know, it's always two ways. You never think that at my age, working for 40 years, I know it all. No, coming here, I learned a lot more. Your questions provoke me. Your questions make me search inside, what else can I do to be better? What else can I do to deliver?
I have a question. So, what were the biggest rewards from working in business? Like biggest accomplishments?
For me, the biggest accomplishments is, especially running a business where in the beginning there was a lot of hard work, is I managed to educate my kids. My son graduated from Wharton, and then he worked with with Boston Consulting, and they actually sent him to London on a scholarship. But I just want to continue the story, allow me. In the summer, he was supposed to go to work. He just comes to me and said, no, I'm not working. I want to enroll myself to be a chef. So he enrolled himself at Cordon Bleu. We thought it would be level 1, level 2. And now he goes, I've written to Boston Consulting here for a 4-month extension because I want to be a full-time chef and get the superior class. So he has a job. They sent him, they're paying for his education. But we've always realized his passion was cooking. And we allowed him to do that because we realized that his passion kept him on the ground. And he's actually doing better on his master's because we allowed him to follow that passion. In the old days, if I would tell my parents I want to be a chef, say, are you crazy? You know? So you have, today, as parents and listening to all of you, our thinking has also changed. Our daughter has finished, she went to Tufts, she's doing education here, and she did her master's and she's back and she's doing education. And I wish she was here today because she's actually an ideal person to interact because she can understand children your age better. She deals with them every day. And for me, when I deal with her today, it's a different, it's no more as a daughter. It's someone who understands the younger generation, and they actually both correct me most of the time. I make a lot of mistakes, especially grammar, you know. For those of you who are familiar with the Philippines, I have to be careful with my P's and my F's. So, you know, and so I have to be careful with that, they correct.
But isn't that very interesting? That here you have a person who's the CEO of a global company. He could very well induct his son into his business, give him a territory to manage. But no, he says, go, work outside Boston Consulting Group, which is a global leader in consulting. Go to business school. Don't come back to my business. Break out on your own. So that's very important for you guys. If you have come from a family business, so on and so forth, you need to learn the skills to be effective in your own business if you come back to it.
You know, I have a saying that it's better to have tried and cried than never to have tried at all. So you really don't have the fear. Some of us feel that, oh, our parents have such big businesses. It's automatic. Go on the outside world because you're going to learn so much that you can eventually bring in. By just going into it right away, you won't get that feeling that I earned it. But going outside and making a name for yourself, there's nothing like it. I came with a dartboard and $500 with no expectation. If nothing worked, fine. You saw my photo, my hair was like that. People thought I wouldn't survive 6 months here. My own family and friends said, we'll see you in 6 months. You know, you're a spoiled brat, you never had hard work, you have a family business. But then I went with my heart, I used my head, and for me, going back would have been an embarrassment. Because then I would have failed. And failure for me, being the eldest in a family of long-time entrepreneurs, the only one who left the family and worked outside, failure was not an option. I had to find my way.
There's a question here.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to ask, when you were first building up Giordano, financially, how difficult was it to actually make it grow? Because currently I'm running my own business and I've just started it, and financially I'm finding it difficult to grow it.
We are a zero-debt business. It's very unconventional in today's market. When I had the project of Giordano, and I approached the Alcorer family and ETA, and I said, I will build you 50 stores in 10 years. And they said, what do you mean? I said I needed 3 million dirhams. And they said to me, we will give it to you, but don't come back for more. With that 3 million dirhams, in 20 years, in 2012, we had paid the partners 300 million dirhams in dividend, and the company was sold to Giordano for $100 million. So when it moved to Giordano, we built the company one store at a time. The owners were not greedy to remove the cash. As the profits were coming in, they allowed me to reinvest it in the business. So by God's grace, we were very fortunate that 25 years ago, it was easier. When I went into the restaurant business in the early 2000, lost 10 million dirhams in 3 years. Just exited it. That was again part of the group business. So it's not, I'm with the Entrepreneurial organization, and we talk, we mentor young business people, and I know the biggest problem is finance and funding. So you need to really think that before going into any business, do you have the backing, do you have the finance, and you have to run based on your capacity. Some people say that, oh my God, the guy is like 20 feet, 20 steps ahead of me. Maybe he had a different run, it was a different obstacle. Every business is an obstacle. You have to find your way how to run that obstacle.
So if you had the opportunity to choose from fashion to another field, which one would you choose?
Entertainment. I do stand-up comedy. No, I like to enjoy life. Enjoy life in such a way that I like, today at my age, I don't think I'd like to start another business. I'd like to give back. I'd like to spend more time doing this. Because I know it comes from inside, I can feel it. And your questions also allow me to speak out. I'm a no holds barred. I like to be black and white. I don't like to keep anything inside. Giving you the numbers, I have nothing to hide, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, because it's an example to look into. I'd like to spend more time. I will not call myself a consultant because I hate the word con. I prefer to do advisory work. I like to do mentorship. It's not about the money. I'd like to feel like that the more I give back, I get it more into mental satisfaction. Your karma, your vibes that I feel actually make me a stronger and better person. So I'm always available with Student Organization. I had a chance to speak to the entrepreneurs in Chennai, to the Philippine Business Council. 10 of my friends, when our children came back, we realized that the kids have lost touch. We actually put them together, and now with 2 years, they run themselves as friends and as an organization where they share experiences, and they also help each other out. And when I see that happening, I thought, wow, can I replicate that? Can I get a group of children and make them better people?
So basically, one of my main struggles as a student is the balancing of social life or personal life, family time with school time. So as a busy man that you are, as a family man, how do you manage to balance your life?
For me, every day, everything that I do, like when I leave home, with the children, work-wise, family is always a priority. Whenever they need me, and today my wife and kids said, let's travel, or we need to go somewhere, that's a priority. Work today is run by people who have been with me for 20 years. And it's just either a phone call or WhatsApp message and things can be resolved. Personal life, I enjoy going out, I enjoy meeting friends, I enjoy playing darts, I enjoy organizing events, small groups. Now I've started a lot of stuff that I said that I haven't done. And earlier this year I went up to Mount Etna with a group of 40-year-olds, 20 years my junior, and everybody said that it's going to be tough, and I enjoyed it. And they were quite surprised, and now they're inviting me for another trek to Bhutan or Kilimanjaro. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to a Scottish experience in 2 weeks. Scotland, where it's going to be 6 degrees. So I was invited. I said, okay, it's me time, let me go. And then on work time, I'm going to Mauritius to open 4 stores. So I got a call from our head office that they want us to send 3 people to Mauritius. I said, why send anybody? I'll open the boxes. My fellow director in Hong Kong goes, let's go for a week. We'll open the boxes. We'll be with the team. Let's enjoy the beach, and let's open the stores. So take every opportunity as it comes. For family, for yourself, for the company. But remember, don't ever forget yourself. Take care of yourself first. Because if you take care of your health, you take care of your stress levels, you make yourself happy and content, then you're able to give that to your family and your office. Don't be a slave. It's always you first. If you take care of that, the positivity will come to work and family.
Okay, guys, I know we're cutting into your lunchtime and or forum time, so we have time for 2 more questions. And I'm sure that Mr. Chugani will be more than happy to stay if you want to ask him some questions privately afterwards. But 2 more questions.
And then you show the final code there, or should I say?
Oh, I can the one that.
Yeah, the final code, which we can do that at the end, right?
Do that at the end, yeah.
So whoever wants to stay after, that's great.
Yeah.
Because some of the things I want to ask Ishwar is, how does he deal with the onslaught of Amazon? Okay? Because some of you are going to join the gig economy, the internet economy, and his own company, he probably is in the internet space. So one of you guys mentioned you're having cash flow issues. And Ishwar, when he started his company, he started with 3 million dirhams. Today, a lot of you can start your own business with 0. You don't need money. You don't need money to start your business in the internet age. And you can start a products business, you can start a retail business with no money today. It's a golden age for you guys. So we'll talk about a few things like this for those of you who want to stay.
Okay. Sorry, there's a question up front, yeah?
Do you have your own sense of fashion that you keep yourself?
No, I hate fashion. I have no sense of fashion. I get fired every day. I'm a jeans or t-shirt person. I'm more of a white, navy, and sometimes I can be an embarrassment. Okay? I argue every day with my kids, but it's me. I dress on what makes me comfortable. I know my office people cringe when I come in shorts and sandals to the office. I hate wearing a jacket, but if I do, I'd have to do it. But I've been to office meetings. Even our chairman is the same. So I guess it's a company culture. If you meet our global legal head, he is bald with a mohawk, and he walks with me. He's a rugby player for Hong Kong, and when he walks this way, people think he's my bodyguard in stretch t-shirt and in shorts, and he's coming with me to Mauritius.
Okay, last question from the. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
When you first came to Dubai and when you first entered Giordano, how did you deal with the uncertainty of the new ventures?
See, when I first came to Dubai, I went with no expectation. When I first was asked to set up the first family entertainment center, I actually thought it was ready. I just had to run it because I was running one. When I reached here, I realized nothing was done. I had to start from scratch. The only thing that was there was the place. There was no design, there was no name, there were no machines. So I was thrown into a hot water tub. It's either I make sure I survive. So I put my mind together. I saw what they had. I got the designs done. And one day I walked party by. I saw a coloring book called Sinbad. And I went to the office. I told the owners, let's call it Sinbad. And then we came up with the logo, with the design. And if you Google it, your parents will remember Sinbad if they were here. Some of you who have parents who have been here from the 80s, just go home and ask them about Sinbad. So it gave me an opportunity to start something from scratch, build a team, and the same thing with Giordano. one store at a time. I was employee number 1. So I was cashing, I was attending to the customers, I was opening the boxes, I was displaying, I was doing the visual merchandising, I was doing the buying. So that was the fortunate part, you know. And whoever was with me from day 1 are today managers. And that's how we've been running it. Just to give you an example, a data operator who joined me in the beginning is a COO in Saudi running 92 stores. We had a villa cleaner who showed interest in the 90s. He's the deputy head of logistics. So one more thing I need to share. When you have stories like this to share with new people coming in, that you have opportunities for growth. My secretary became the head of India. We do not bring in people from the top. I was just discussing with Rodrigo. Before you bring in someone to replace someone, look inside. You have 900 people. They know your company culture. Because no matter what, people can copy our t-shirts, can copy our store design. But your competition can never copy the culture that you built from the beginning. And if you build a positive culture where everybody works together, they believe the company's principles, nothing can stop you.
Okay.
That's a nice quote that I always use. Good things come to those who believe. Better things come to those who persevere. And the best things come to those who never give up. You're very young, there's a lot of opportunities. I always think of myself as a 20-year-old, and I always like to enjoy life. Thank you very much.
Thank you on behalf of Sunmark School for coming and inspiring our students. I also want to express great thanks to Rodrigo for chairing this, the first in our sessions, and to all of you for really impressive questions which show your business acumen, including people that are already running their own businesses amongst our students. So it's really wonderful. Thank you. Please accept this as a token of our appreciation for your time here with us at the first ever Think and Thrive.
And thank you also for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, especially for the younger generation. I know it's not easy to keep you. You're all going to be waiting to hit the computers, run around, if you have your phones around. Thank you for bearing with me. And I hope I've been able to share some of my passion and my experience. And thank you for the opportunity.
I'd just like to add something.
Thank you.
Obviously, we're all very grateful for Ishwar for taking time out, etc. But please ask him for his email address, which I think Amber can give you, or the email address of his HR department.
Okay, communicate with me directly. I have no PA. I work direct.
Okay, so
I work without a PA. I prefer communicating directly. I have a team, but on the business side, but with you, I have an Instagram called Ishchugs. You can write to me there. I have my Facebook page. If you write to me, I can send it, or my email. I'll give you an easier one, ishchugani@gmail.com.
And it works, I can promise you. I would send him an email and I'd have a response within 2 minutes.
So get onto his Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram
Or LinkedIn
page,
also, and message me and I'll give you my...
and share your learnings of today. What did you learn from this experience and this talk today?
And tag at Ishchugs.
Okay, guys. Super. Thank you.
Thank you all.